Hello and welcome back to AOR Season 18, and Round 5 will take us to Spain. And yeah, I'm first of all really sorry I haven't uploaded in a while. Just had a really busy last few weeks, but I have still been league racing, so it's not because I quit again. I will be uploading the last 4 races, and trust me, there are some really good ones in there. Monaco not so much, but yeah, we're going to start with Spain. And coming into this, I had, I think, a P5 in, or maybe a P6 in Azerbaijan. Coming off a win in China, which was my first league race back in this league, really, after taking season 17 off. Coming back into Assist League 3 and just winning off the bounce was brilliant. But Azerbaijan was a bit of a wake-up call that if I want to win this championship, I'm going to have to commit. But yeah, I have a chance already to move up the rankings. I think after last race, I think I was already top 5 in the standings, so I can easily catapult into top 3 after a good result today, after only 3 races here. And you can see going purple in Sector 2 is still not going to be enough for pole for the time being. But if I can put in a good last sector, I could definitely qualify up the order. Of course, qualifying's not really been my strength in the last race or two, so I actually got a really good qualifying in Baku. Not so much in China. But if I can convert in the waste, then the qualifying doesn't really matter, as we're going to come through the final corner to set what will be a, I think going to be one of our best laps of the session. And sure enough, we're going to cross the line, and it's a 1:19. I'm going to retire from this session, as that actually puts good enough for P2 for the time being. But behind Super Swagman, you actually got pole in the end, because quite a lot of people went for the mediums. I'm opted to go for the 2-stop on the softs. That put me in P5, but Ropuk, Icy, and Black Widow all going for the 1-stop, so it's going to put me in a big disadvantage having to commit to this 2-stop. I'm basically seeing what I can do with it and seeing if I have the pace to make it up, because I know I have the pace over quite a few people in this league. Even so, Ropuk and X-Nuke seemed very quick last week, along with Black Widow for that matter. Or it could have been Bubba, but I know that everyone in the front is going to be a real contender for this race. Super Swagman, though, on pole on the softs, so he did a really good job there. Meanwhile, we have to set with P5 for the time being, but we're going to be going into turn 1. Not really under contention. We've got Hockey Fighter up inside. He's also going for the same strategy as us, so he might be one to watch throughout the race. Me, Super Swag, and Hockey are going to have to try to make our way back through these guys on the 2-stop, see if we can make it work. But Swagman's already been actually hung out to dry, and he's been done again, so he's already wide. And I don't know what's happened to him, but from pole position, he's already dropped back to 4th, and I knew I had to make the move quickly on him. He's already gone deep again. He's already down to P6, so I don't P5. Maybe P6 now, as there's some yellow flags behind us. But yeah, it's almost like Super Swagman just put it on pole, not expecting to really hold it for long. And sure enough, Hockey Fighter got past him quite quickly. And by lap 4, we're beginning to get dropped by Black Widow, who was actually putting pressure on the car ahead. But yeah, our tyres were already cliffing on lap 5, so having to stretch them to lap 6 or 7, and already the 2-stop looking very poor, because I'm already 3 seconds behind these guys, and I have to make up a whole pit stop on them. So yeah, the soft's not the tyres to be on, and Hockey Fighter's actually going to stretch it a lap longer than us, I believe. You can see X-Nuke behind, and Jordan as well, so a few guys going for the 1-stop behind us might also be a threat, considering how poor this strategy is. So I really sort of regret not going on the mediums, even so I don't know if I'd have the pace. But yeah, definitely looking the faster strategy. Like it was in China, actually. I was able to convert the win on that 1-stop alone, really. Qualifying outside the top 10 really allowed me to get a good strat. So the 1-stop always seeming to work. I think X-Nuke pulled it off beautifully last week as well. But yeah, since our beautiful 1-stop in China, as we qualified in the top 10, we've really been committing to 2-stops. And right now, it's not looking like it's going to work. As you can see, there's actually Renault in the middle of a track. He luckily gets out of our way. As you can see, we pit onto fresh mediums. But it's going to be our first of 2 pit stops in this race, as Hockey Fighter now is actually going to be emerging from the pits up ahead of us. So we're actually going to we're going to see where he does emerge, because he was behind us, but it's looking like he's going to rejoin pretty much side by side with us, as we still got people quite a long way ahead. And yeah, we're going to be 8th and 9th respectively, so we've got a lot to make up. But I mean, the race is still young. We've got 23 positions to make, 23 laps to make up some positions. And as yeah, we can't really lose any more positions from here. We can only really go forward after this point, because of course we're on the fresher tyres than everyone, and me and Hockey Fighter seem to have the pace. I think I was able to beat him in Baku, but here he seems to be all over me like a rash, so it might be quite a bit harder to fend him off. I think in Baku he had a bit of damage as well, which helped me out. So I also suffered from a bit of damage myself. But you can see already Hockey Fighter putting us under pressure as we go green. We're gaining on enemy's killer, but Hockey Fighter for the time being realizes they have the pace of the guys ahead, and we're just going to rate it out until we sort of get up to enemy's killer, who's now disconnected, gone in the gravel, and that's us up into P6. So I think 1 or 2 people pitting as well, and we're slowly beginning to make up the positions, but yeah, keeping it clean, that's something which I've actually been able to do quite well in this game. I used to get at least 5 penalties a race in 2018, but now it just seems to be fine. I seem to be driving much better. As you can see up ahead, Black Widow is actually going to merge, and yeah, not only do I have to gain a whole pit stop on him now, he's on fresh hards, and yeah, he disappeared a bit, and X-Nuke as well. I think he was behind us, but on the 1 stop, he managed to overcut us. Of course, we know how much pace he has from Baku, so he's going to be one of the definitely one of the challenges, but I decided to take him there, basically to put a buffer between me and Hockey Fighter. I knew I wasn't going to be able to hold him off for long, but I knew that Hockey Fighter was my main rival this race, and already up into P3, I think the highest I could really hope for at the moment is probably P4, P5, provided nobody else really gets issues, but X-Nuke already being held up by me, so I just thought now, I'm going to have to let him through in the straight. I'm not to hold him up too much more. He's not in my race, so there's no point defending. It's Hockey Fighter I'm really racing at the moment, so if I can keep ahead of Hockey Fighter, you definitely seem to have quite a lot of pace at this track, then that'll be quite a good result indeed. But yeah, just really trying to get a top 5 after a good qualifying, but of course being on the wrong strategy, so it's a really uphill battle from here. But P4 for the time being. Of course, we still got 1 more pit stop to make, so I don't know if this is P4 on the track, but for the time being I just have to really defend from Hockey Fighter. But I was sort of using X-Nuke as a sort of toe, because he had a lot of pace. As actually I have a lag spike, and that allows Hockey Fighter ahead of me. That's probably the first lag spike I've had since F1 2018, which I suppose it's better than the season 14 really in Assist League 2, where I was getting lag spikes every race. But it was a bit annoying because now I need to sort of slot in behind these two. But we were actually able to keep pace with X-Nuke, and I was actually diving to the pits for an undercut on Hockey Fighter. See if I can reclaim that position on him, and that will be yeah, that'll be the battle for P4 by the looks of it, because Super Swagman is behind us, and I think he's also on the 2 stops, so I think we should be ahead of him. So there could be a guy behind him as well, but I think we should actually be able to emerge in what should be P6, which is very good considering yeah, I was in P8, P9 at one point, but it's going to be a very close call with Anyodin and the guy behind him, and it's actually going to be very close, and we're going to just about get them. I think Cassie's going to try to get us, and he's actually going to overtake Anyodin and overtake us at the same time, so Cassie, very opportunistic move, but he goes a bit deep, and that's going to allow us to quickly get him. And at this point, I just didn't want to get held up by Cassie, and sure enough, I get past him quickly, and now I'm just hoping that Hockey Fighter gets caught up behind Cassie, and that will allow me to bolt a bit, because at this point, I didn't know if I had any penalties at this point, but I knew that I was on the verge of getting a penalty. So just in case that Hockey didn't have any penalties, I just wanted a buffer. And sure enough, you can see he's still actually staying out, so he's going to have quite a lot of fresher tyres, and that is actually our first penalty. So as right on cue, we get our first penalty, and this suddenly puts the pressure on me, because although I've been very clean this year, a lot of other people have been clean. So if Hockey doesn't have any penalties, he could be in a position to re-overtake us on penalties, but you can see he's actually stuck behind Cassie, so this is my chance to bolt. And if you have a look at the gap is actually quite large to Cassie now. I think it's about 3.5 seconds, and yeah, sure enough, it's 3.5 seconds, so the undercut working wonders. The only problem is Hockey's got much fresher tyres, and he only really has to get within 3 seconds really if he hasn't got any penalties. Of course, if he has got penalties, he has to overtake us, so that's a different story. But for the time being, I have to go on the basis that he has not got penalties. So I just wanted to keep him 3 seconds behind, but you can see he's quickly gaining. So at this point, I was really sort of preparing for a battle. Meanwhile, the 2 leaders up ahead, this actually turned out to be a battle for P3, because I think Black Widow had had problems, which is a real shame, because he was really up there in P2, and that would basically allow Ropek and X-Nuke to run away with it. Ropek having a dominant drive today, and yeah, X-Nuke really coming from the back of the grid, but on the 1 stop, really making it work, and they were actually able to pit again. They had such a lead over us, and on the last lap, you can see Hockey Fighter had to actually close us down a lot. X-Nuke had bolted on the fresh tyres. I think Ropek had gone on fresh tyres as well. Both of them setting fastest lap, going on in search of fastest laps really, and sure enough, we've got actually Hockey Fighter to worry about as we are going through the sector 1 splits. We're actually up on our personal best, which considering these are dead tyres was good, but you can see Hockey Fighter 2 seconds behind. We've done amazingly well to keep him basically within that 2.5 second window, considering he's on the fresher tyres, considering he has a lot of pace around here. So if I could just hold him off and actually gain a second, that will really consolidate P3. Even so, right now I'm just really hoping he's got penalties. But yeah, I really wanted this podium after not really doing so well in Azerbaijan, and that would really catapult me up the standings. So yeah, just looking at the gap, and yeah, it's about 1.9. So definitely pulling on Hockey Fighter this lap, and again 2 green sectors on the last lap, very Vettel-esque really, and driving really well. But unfortunately, Hockey Fighter is within that 3-second window. So we're basically at this point just relying on chance, and unfortunately Hockey Fighter didn't actually have any penalties. So as we cross the line, we've driven a perfect last lap. We stretched the gap to 1.9 seconds. I think he was within 1.5 seconds at one point. So really good drive, but unfortunately it's only the P4. Still only losing 3 points, but of course that 3-second penalty hitting us hard, and come the end of the season that could be the difference between, well, a position in the championship really. But for the time being, Roppa Konechniuk, they've won the last 2 races. Of course I won the race before, but they're looking the dominant guys when it comes to the championship standings. And sure enough, as you have a look at the standings, Roppa Konechniuk out in front really by quite a lot. We'll actually move up to P3. I think Black Widow and Hockey Fighter giving us quite a bit of a challenge for P4 and 5. And yeah, just looking at the podium again. But as we head on to the actual race standings, as we just race for everything to ready up. If we just go on to the race standings, you see Ropik in the end winning dominantly from X-Nuke. Hockey Fighter not getting any penalties. Enemies Killer recovering to 5th. So I remember he was actually only just ahead of us, so he did really well. Black Widow still coming 6th, even after I think getting damage. But he was definitely up in P2 at one point, so it's definitely a shame there to see him fall down the grid. Bizjeljuk, again, I think he was sideways at one point, so doing well to recover to 7th. And Jordan in P8, Casito P9, which considering he was up in P5 at one point is a bit disappointing for him. And my, IC in P10. Yeah, that will be it for the top 10, and see you next week in Monaco.